Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Byron Wolfe is the founder of CFO-AF, a financial services and business consulting firm specializing in industries ranging from construction to crypto, and the chief financial officer at Black Tie Moving, an INC or Inc. 5000 company. His certification in the crypto, NFT, and Metaverse space has led to many projects with DAOs and crypto companies, and he is considered one of the first experts in crypto tax strategy. So welcome, Byron. Please tell us all about this.
Yes, absolutely. Crypto tax, that is really, really interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It is the new frontier. I like to call it the wild, wild west, but we are doing our best to wrangle some regulation and some standards to the industry. But it's still pretty wild out there. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, crypto, that's tech. It's a little boring and, not that interesting, but there's some interesting stories out there between all the different crypto exchanges. The way that DAO are decentralized autonomous organizations, the way that they're structured and what they can do within the industry, the NFTs, and kind of how they're being used to hold value, to be used as essentially tickets or like access into very exclusive offerings. And then the Metaverse, which is essentially digital real estate, and how it is very different from your traditional real property or actual properties, your home, the land that you purchase, but then how there are very similar attributes as well. So it's a little nerdy. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of that guy, but it's also very interesting as well. So thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to get into this with the two of you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And just know, before we even get going, this is so wild, wild west that you are definitely going to have to come back, because we're going to have to break this up in pieces so I can get an understanding and our audience can get an understanding.
I love it. Yes, for sure. We can definitely get into it, and as many meetings as you need, I'm here for it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I have a strange ability to take what is somewhat, complex to very, very complex, and to break it down into ways that it's maybe a little bit easier to understand. There are still a lot of concepts within that space that are, pretty out there, pretty wild. But I do my best to kind of break it down to kind of the different pieces and to relate those to pieces of other industries or businesses or arrangements that make sense for hopefully for your listeners. And and you're going to have different range. You're going to have people that listen to your show that really understand this stuff well and they're high level. You're going to have people that listen to your show that maybe are just hearing like, what's a DAO? I've never heard of a DAO before. DAO, never heard of it before. Or, hey, I know crypto exists, but I'm not really sure what it does or what it's used for. So yeah, I'm happy to answer all those questions from the lower level up to the high level, whatever gives benefit to the audience. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with crypto.
All right.
I'm kind of familiar. I'm familiar with crypto. I do a little bit of stuff in crypto. And the last couple of tax returns, I realized that they want to know if I spent any of my crypto.
Yes.
That question is now on the tax documents.
Yep.
So with you being in the tax area with crypto, give us some pointers. Tell us what we need to be doing or not doing.
Yeah, so I love what you said right there. So they just recently added essentially a checkbox. It says, hey, did you do any crypto transactions? which I thought was the IRS or the government kind of dipping their toes in. Let's see if people are honest. Let's see
Yes.
what they'll admit to. Which I think was smart. Instead of jumping, full-fledged into the pool and saying, hey, we're going to roll everything out, all the regulations, all the rules, everything. They said, hey, let's just find out if people are doing this. I think when that came back with multiple check marks, they realized, hey, maybe this isn't just a few people. Maybe there's a lot of people doing this. And it's been my experience that there's a lot more people that are dabbling in crypto than you would think. Because it's pretty easy to get into it now. Like, I don't know what platform you're trading on, but there's multiple platforms, there's multiple cryptos that do multiple different things. Some of them are just holders of wealth. Some of them are actually tied into something that maybe, our listeners would find interesting. And so they say, hey, I really like this. I want to be involved in that. So if the way to get involved in that is to purchase that crypto, then that's my way of supporting whatever this is, whatever that crypto piece is doing. So the crypto itself is essentially the coin of whatever that company is doing. So if you have a company that is specifically trying to create a specific way of transacting business, a specific way of maybe verifying transactions or verifying transfers within an industry or over a certain platform, then they're going to have a coin that's essentially the basis behind that. There's also a lot of NFTs that can exist that are going to tie into those, and we'll talk about the difference between those two as well. But the coins are essentially the backing of that. So when we think about the US, we have the US dollar. So the US dollar is essentially the coin, so to speak, of how the US interacts. So like there's a lot of different companies out there. So Ripple is one that's been in the news a lot lately. They're in the middle of a lawsuit with the federal government. And then and we're waiting to see what's going to happen there. It's definitely going to set a precedence for the crypto space. But their coin is XRP. And so and I'm not going to go into a bunch of them, but Ripple specifically was designed to take over for the way banks transfer funds. So when you think about like when you send a ACH from one bank to another, it uses the SWIFT system. And so Ripple is designed to take over the SWIFT system, which has been in place since like the 70s. It's very antiquated. It's out of date. Takes too long. So the SWIFT system can take up to 24 hours sometimes to transfer money. Well, Ripple said, hey, we're going to solve it. And so they've made it pretty much instantaneous, and you don't have to have multiple currencies. It just goes down to the base XRP coin. Everything transfers that way. It's almost instantaneous. We're talking fractions of a second on a transfer, even across the globe. Yeah, amazing stuff. So they're finding ways to do different things, and the coin is the basis behind it, and it allows them to raise the funds or to make transactions within that space of what they're doing, what they're involved in.
Oh, okay. So now that the IRS has found that a lot of people is checking the box,
yes.
What can we expect this year in terms of taxes for the crypto?
So they want to know what your transactions are. How many transactions did you do? Did you make money? Did you lose money? So a lot of these are still limited to the $3,000 kind of cap. If you lost more than $3,000, they're going to limit you to the $3,000, write-off essentially. And again, that's going to be the same form that you would file for a business. It's still on a 1040. It's just on the Schedule D instead of the Schedule C. So you're still going to file the same stuff. They want to know how much transactions took place, what were the amounts of those transactions, what was your gain or your loss on those transactions. So in its most basic format, that's what it breaks down to on the individual level. It gets significantly more complicated when we get into trading accounts, when you're talking about trading within like a Roth IRA or a 401k, if you're trading it as a business. So if you're an LLC, an S Corp, or a C Corp, and you're trading within that gets significantly different. If you've taken an M2M designation or an election, then you're allowed to bypass the $3,000 cap on those losses. So all of the rules behind this. I won't say all, that's definitive. the majority of the rules right now are related to something else that the IRS has regulated. So when they're talking about if you make it a trading LLC and you're in the business of trading crypto, you don't have the same limitations that you have as an individual. The $3,000 cap goes away because now you're in the business of trading. When you're an individual, every time you buy or sell, it's a taxable event. When you're in the business of trading, it's treated almost like inventory. So instead of having a taxable transaction every time, it's the culmination of all those things. Plus you get the chance to write off your expenses, which we all know is the best part of an LLC.
Right, exactly. So as an individual doing crypto, all you doing is buying and holding.
So yes, I have some that I buy and hold. I have quite a few that I use to transact. We take payments in crypto for a lot of our tax services and other financial services. So there's not a whole lot of firms right now that are taking crypto in the multiple crypto formats. They may take a very specific kind. They'll say, "Hey, I'll take Bitcoin, or I'll take Bitcoin Cash, or I'll take US coin or something only." We'll take it in most of the cryptos because it's very easy to trade that over. We have a trading LLC already that exists underneath our holding. So it allows us to take those and transact business within crypto and stay above the IRS standard of the individual transactions.
That's a lot of information. I'm definitely going to have to simmer on it because right now I'm just checking the box. I haven't moved anything. I'm just buying and holding.
Okay, no, that's smart because and you've probably said this a million times on your platform or some version of it, but you don't. There's no loss until you sell, right? And there's no gain until you sell. So if you're just holding those right now, there's not really anything you have to worry about. I will say this, and this doesn't really help us now in 2023, but near the end of 2022, if you had paper losses, so you hadn't sold yet, so it was really just a paper loss, you could sell those cryptos, and then you could rebuy those, essentially taking advantage of the wash rule. And so if you're familiar with the wash rule, you can't do it for stocks. Obviously, they've ruled that out. And I do think that they'll eventually rule this out for crypto, but they haven't yet. So you could sell it, take the loss on your crypto, basically reduce your basis of what you had, and then you could use that loss to offset some gains that you have in other areas of your tax return, which was nice.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's called a wash.
Yeah, it's called the wash rule. So
Okay.
essentially, you take the lowered basis. So you sell those crypto coins or whatever your holdings are, which when you sell them, like if you paid $100 for them, they're now worth 50. That $50 becomes a loss that you can apply to something else. Like if you had some W-2 earnings, or you had some passive income earnings, rents, things of those, royalties, whatever, commissions, you could write that off against those. Again, as an individual, you're limited to the 3,000, but if you have the MTM designation, or you have a business that's in the business of trading, then it allows you to make that a ordinary income or an ordinary loss versus, say, a passive loss or a passive gain, and thereby reducing your tax liability. So a lot of people took advantage of the wash rule. Great thing to have. I do believe 2023 will also have the wash rule, but I do believe the IRS will eventually shut that down, as they did for stocks.
Oh, okay, because it was at one time crypto was losing pretty bad.
Yes.
And because I watched mine go down. So if I wanted to use the wash rule because of the losses that I incurred, could I do that on this year's taxes?
Yes, you could. Yeah, if you wanted to sell those now to take the loss, and then you could repurchase those again and then move forward with a lowered basis, you could definitely do that. The only thing that I would say is it's usually done at the end of the year, because you're looking at, okay, I've got to have these gains and I need to offset those gains with something. And so it's great for that. If you were to take it now, the only negative to that is you would start your 1 year hold period over, because when you sell it, like if you had those for a year or more, then obviously, those are long-term, not short-term. And so you would lose out on that long-term hold period. But if you did the wash rule today and then you don't sell for another year, then you're going to get that, that long-term designation back. So if you're one that's holding the crypto and kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, it's a great plan. And I think it's definitely worth it. If you anticipate selling those within the next 12 months, then I would wait and see what it looks like at the end of the year and see if it makes sense to take advantage of the wash rule.
Ruth, I see something ticking in your head.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to jump out of the tax strategies and just get some basic definitions going here. Metaverse and NFTs.
Yeah. So NFT, non-fungible token, which sounds like something made up.
It does.
But what it means is it's not the same as something else. So it's essentially a one of a kind. And I get a lot of kickback on this because they say, oh, well, I saw an NFT looks exactly like this other NFT. And they can. But that specific NFT is a one of a kind in the sense of the code behind it, what goes into it. It's a one of a kind. It's like a fingerprint. So I always, tell people, I say, you can take two fingerprints that look very, very similar, but they're going to relate to two different people if you were to run them through, whatever the FBI uses to check fingerprints. To the naked eye, we look at it, we say, oh, those are the same. Then they run them through, they're very different. So the NFT, the non-fungible token, it does one of two things. It's utility, and so it serves a purpose. It can be exclusion, of something. If you have that NFT, it can be inclusion into some special group or into some kind of investment platform or whatever. So it can function as utility. It serves a purpose. It serves somewhat as a ticket or like a pass to something. The other ones are essentially like holders of wealth. So if you consider them somewhat like artwork. So the Mona Lisa is a one of a kind. There's plenty of reproductions of the Mona Lisa, I'm sure. Probably some fakes floating around as well, but there's only one Mona Lisa. So the NFT is a one of a kind in that aspect. Doesn't mean somebody can't take a picture of your work of art, your NFT, and then, give that to somebody else or sell it or whatever, but that's going to be a reproduction. The one of a kind still stays a one of a kind, can be reproduced. And so they hold value in that aspect. They're very specific in that they hold that value, and the assumption is that they're going to go up in value. So it's waiting on the increase in value of that people are counting on, or they just hold on to that NFT because it's a holder of value, holder of wealth, that they're allowed to put that into that NFT, and then they can sell it at a later point. The beauty of it is just like the Mona Lisa, the value of it is only what somebody's willing to pay and what you're willing to sell it for. So the IRS has a hard time saying, hey, that is worth X dollars and we need to tax it based on X dollars. Well, because it doesn't have a set value, there's nothing to compare it to. If you're shopping for a home, they do comparables. And again, the home may not be exactly the same, but there's going to be a lot of things that are very similar to that home. And so when they go in, your lender, whoever goes in, they look at it and they say, hey, in this neighborhood with this square footage and these amenities, it should be worth these dollars. So with the NFT, they can make assumptions, but there's not really anything else to compare it to. So they have to say, hey, well, it sold for this, so we think this is the value. But there's no guarantee in that. Like we've seen it in crypto, like you just said, we've had a huge drop off on crypto. So, if you came into Bitcoin at its heyday, in 60,000 plus, you could say, oh, well, crypto is worth $60,000. Well, like I'd love to find the guy that's willing to pay 60,000 when it dropped down to 20,000. That's be great. Like if that's the way it works, then I'm going to sell all my Bitcoin. But It doesn't. It's what people are willing to pay for it. So with the NFTs, they either serve a purpose and they're going to have value in that, or they're a holder of wealth, essentially like artwork, and they're going to have their value in that aspect. You mentioned Metaverse. So Metaverse is digital real estate. And so a lot of people, when they hear this, they think, oh, okay, it's a video game. That's not far off. The Metaverse essentially is the platform that could be used for something like a video game. But with Metaverse, it's digital real estate that exists in the virtual world that you can own, that you can have, meetings on, you can add things to, you can spice it up, you can build on it. The ones that are very popular, they charge a fee for people to essentially move through their real estate, their piece of that metaverse. There's been a lot of them that have come out that are fairly popular. And so they serve as a advertising medium, for example. Somebody were to go into that metaverse and they want to have, say, a virtual meeting with somebody across the world, but they want it to be within their avatar. So I'm sure everybody's seen the crazy big white goggle looking things, right?
Yeah.
So for VR, so, they go into their virtual reality. And when they go into that virtual reality, where they're at, that game, if it's a game or that meeting place that they're in, that is essentially virtual real estate. And so if it's a open area, so what a lot of people will call like a sandlot, sandlot denotes like it's open. A lot of people can go into that space, and interact with others within that. So if it's an open space, which is what most metaverse land is, then you can go into your VR, you have your avatar, so you can dress any way you want. You can have whatever you want, however you want to represent yourself. If you forgot to wear your earrings and you want to put earrings on, click of a button. Now, Ruth, we got earrings on, right? Like we're good to go. So you can make them as crazy as you want and change them with a click of a button, which is amazing. You can drive whatever you want. You can it's great stuff. So it allows people to express themselves in the way that they're comfortable, but in a virtual environment. So it's all digital, digital clothing, digital apparel, digital vehicle, whatever, however you want to represent yourself. So you go in, you're representing yourself digitally in this. You can interact with others. You can have meetings. You can talk about this, talk about that. So and I'm going to really date myself when I say this, but like when I was a kid, they would have these online like rooms, and this is back when like dial up, beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
You go into these digital rooms and you could interact with somebody across the country, and it wasn't costing you $47 a minute or whatever, my dad used to accuse me of every time I made a call that was outside of our area, right? So you could go in, you could interact with people. And so that was all typing, is all these little rooms, digital rooms where you could type in to somebody, they could interact back with you. And then they had some voice access. I think that was, the voice over IP or VoIP. And so people could do that. Well, now you can go in, you can represent yourself in the format that you want, interact with people in the way that they want to be seen, digitally. So they dress themselves up or represent themselves as whatever they want to represent themselves at. I mean, I've seen people floating boxes, so however you want to be represented, that's how you represent yourself. And then they can interact. I've seen business meetings that have taken place in the metaverse, which is, actually really cool. You got a bunch of weird looking avatar things sitting around a boardroom talking about business. To me, that's pretty neat. But again, I'm kind of a nerd. So
well, that is really, really interesting. And
Yes.
we definitely going to have to hit that again because I'm interested in that. Anything techie, that's my niche. Wow. So how can people get in contact with you, Byron?
So you can go to the website CFO-AF, or we're on all social media platforms, the CFO-AF. So Instagram, Facebook, any of them, we're on those. But I would encourage people to go to the website and just kind of check out what we do and see kind of the resources that are on there. We post a lot of articles, everything from what I consider, kind of the baseline of, hey, if you've never experienced any of this, what does this mean? Then we do some like kind of in-depth, what I would consider maybe a little bit higher level understanding of some of these items, we go into that as well. So I run the gambit between it. There are so many people way smarter than me that can get really technical on this stuff, and so I would encourage you to listen to those as well. But I will be honest with you, I understand it extremely well, and I get into some of these conversations with the expert, so to speak, and they can lose me. So,
Okay. Well, trust me. Thank you so much for being so clear about what you were talking about, because it really helps those of us who are not techie, and this information is very new in so many ways. We really we know of it, but we don't know anything about it. So thank you so much. It's really been I appreciate you. But I do have one quick question for you. Now you're going to get this one, and it's a fun question. And everybody out there whose brain is sizzling right about now, this should be fun for them as well. Now, this is a suggested interview question, so I didn't make this one up. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, so I forgot about this one. So I truly, it wasn't just what I wanted to be. I believed wholeheartedly in my heart that I was going to be a spy, that I was going to be this like special agent man. And so for like a 3-year period, I refused to do picture day. Like, I didn't want people to take my picture. I would find excuses. I was sick every school picture day. Like, I would avoid the camera. I would turn my head. I didn't want any pictures of me out there because I was so wholeheartedly convinced that this is what I was going to do. I was going to be this spy, this 007 type person, completely convinced. So yeah, it did not work out, obviously.
That was fun. Well, you are sort of like that, because like you said, this is stuff that most people don't even understand. So you're still doing that. You're in there looking at things. Thank you so much. That was fun.
So you probably watched all the James Bonds, huh?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I watched anything that's like special agent, kind of undercover, I love like the double agent, the triple agent, and the double, triple agent, you name it. Like, I'm in for it. Like, I love that stuff.
Okay.
Wow. That is good. Wonderful. Wow, Byron, it is never enough time. That's why you have to come back, because you're in so many different places that need to be really dug into for not only me to understand, but for our audience, because like you said, there may be people out there that get it, but I'm quite sure there's more that don't that do.
Oh yeah. No, I completely understand. And if we had time, I'd love to go into this, so maybe we can hit this next time. But there's been a big push towards using the NFTs for charitable purposes. So our charity that we're involved with, we have started that process. We started to create some of those. And I really think that is going to be one of the best uses of the NFT. I love, charitable organizations, love them, huge heart for that, nonprofit entities. And so the concept of being able to use these NFTs and to go into an area where really the charitable outreach has not been prevalent, so to speak, to be able to use this, I'm super stoked. But again, hopefully we'll have another chance to go into that, and we'll get into the details. That's
a date. So now next conversation is going to be about how nonprofits can use NFT. I'm writing that down.
Okay.
So again, Byron, how do our listeners get in touch with you?
So CFO-AF. We did, if it's okay with you, we created a special offer that we want to offer out to the listeners. If it's okay, can I share that with them?
Absolutely.
So we did it's a special website. It's the What If Plan. So it's thewhatifplan.com. And if you go there, it'll give you, it's completely free. It doesn't even have a, hey, upgrade to this at the end. It's completely free. There's no pitch. But what it is we created a PDF that walks people that are thinking about starting an LLC. And this can be everything from a for-profit, nonprofit, you name it. but it walks you through the steps of starting a business.
Oh, thank you.
All right. We will definitely put that on the show notes and make sure
Yes.
everybody gets that, because there's people out there that are thinking about starting a business and they are going to need that information. So thank you, Byron, for your generosity. And we are definitely going to be planning our next collaboration. So don't go nowhere.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for everything, Todd. I appreciate y'all.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.